in each marathon block, there's always at least one workout where mentally and physically you're really challenged. Of course, there's a physical challenge in difficult conditions today, but I think beyond that, this was one of the workouts where I just wanted to cut it short, wanted to be done. But when I get to that point and I get to a point in a workout where I want to quit, I always tell myself that, that's what these are designed to do. And this is a chance to work on the mental side of things because, when you're 18 or 20 miles in or whatever point in the marathon, there's gonna be a time where it's difficult. Things are hurting or things aren't going your way or you're just working really hard and you want to quit. So, I think about that moment and realize if I can get through this workout when there's nothing on the line, when I can quit and no one will care, no one will really know. I don't have to talk about it, but I know if I can get through that, then when it really matters during the marathon, I'll be able to get through that as well. So really happy with the way I responded. I pushed through and ended up with a good workout. Good morning. It is Monday morning, October 21st. So in this video, I want to recap last week, week 10 of the Richmond Marathon training build. So I'll go over kind of what this last week looked like and then talk a little bit maybe about what this week is going to be like, because I think this is exciting and a couple things worth noting before maybe the next video comes out. But I'm Rob Mazzanti. Thanks for tuning in. I am a 2:28 marathon runner, hopefully soon to be sub 2:25, but we'll see. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. In typical YouTube fashion, or maybe less typical, but I'm here having breakfast. I'm not making breakfast. I feel like every running YouTube video always starts with shots of someone making breakfast, but maybe I'll get there. This week we actually had Serve Pro out to our house doing some cleanup from some flooding. So our kitchen is in disarray, getting more or less remodeled at this point by necessity. So once things are back to normal, I can get some B-roll, some shots of me actually maybe putting together some meals and such. But this morning, let's see, what do I have for breakfast? I have overnight oats. I use these cardboard containers, which are really nice. So if you're busy in the morning, you can make this 2-3 days in advance and just grab these and go. So whether it's into work or whether you got other things going on, these are really nice. I'm here at the house today, but just convenient, still work really well. For overnight oats, actually, I have two different recipes that I really like. One is a chocolate cacao nib overnight oats, really simple. It is a cacao nib oatmeal mix that you just get at Whole Foods, and you just mix that with, I use unsweetened vanilla almond milk, and then I add some cacao nibs, some chia seeds, and then usually some collagen chocolate protein powder in there as well. And I think collagen powders typically get a bad rap, and I've tried a few, so I get it. But this one actually, the Vital Proteins dark chocolate collagen protein powder is actually delicious, and the oatmeal actually tastes a lot better with it in. So if you have a sweet tooth, or especially for me, like I love chocolate, it's a great thing to add in, and it feels like you're eating dessert for breakfast, and it's actually really healthy. It's, calories are on point, good carbs, and just really healthy overall. So highly recommend that one. We're in fall, and I've definitely embraced all things fall, as much as I can. I'm pretty basic when it comes to that. And this, so this recipe is my fall overnight oats recipe. It's pumpkin pie overnight oats. So what I use is I use Bob's Red Mill quick cooking oats. So I use that. Use some just pumpkin puree. So I usually equal parts of those two things. Add in some cinnamon, some nutmeg, a little bit of vanilla extract, almond milk, and I actually added a little bit of maple syrup in there as well for some additional sweetness, and it's really good. So I feel like I'm eating pumpkin pie also for breakfast, but again, the most unhealthy thing here is the maple syrup, which you can take out if you don't want, but I don't add a lot. You don't need very much, and it makes it pretty sweet, so it's a delicious breakfast. That and just a coffee, nothing too special here. So for coffee, I guess maybe it's worth noting, I do something a little bit different. So I actually will mix together half of in our coffee maker, I buy whole beans, and then we grind decaf beans and then whole calf. And I usually kind of use a third of caffeinated and then 2/3 decaf. And I do that because I like drinking more than one coffee. I might have 2 or 3 coffees kind of throughout the morning, maybe even 4, usually 2 or 3 though. So when I'm doing that, I'm really kind of getting the caffeine equivalent of 1 cup of coffee, but I still get to, I still get to enjoy drinking the coffee itself. So it's a way to moderate caffeine intake, so I'm still able to sleep well and not get too jittery or anything. So yeah, it's worth something to think about. Anyway, so that's my breakfast. I'll pause here. So if you see me continuing to eat, it works. I hope this isn't too rude. But if it's also loud, I will probably end up going back and re-recording this. So it's not also quite as obnoxious, but got a busy day today. So I'm trying to multitask and I want to make sure that I'm getting this video out in kind of a reasonable time frame. So I'm pulling up my Strava here to look over this last week of training. It was a bigger week it's slightly bigger than what was intended. I ended up with 117 miles on the week, 13 hours total run time with 3,500 feet of elevation. So overall, that's for me especially, I think it's my biggest week. I had one other week at 116 earlier on in the build, but most of my weeks have hovered between 100 and 110 miles a week. So this one was a little bit bigger. And a lot of it had to do with the workout yesterday. On Sunday was my long run, which you'll see some clips of that. I'll put in here shortly after. But taking a look at the actual run. So just give me a second here. As much time as I spend on Strava, I should be more efficient moving through some of these activities. Okay, all right, so looking back, I guess I'll start with even before the run. Last weekend, I did a long run. It was 2x10K, 22 miles total. And then on Sunday, I did a 9-mile, just pretty easy run. I did that in the Annapolis area of Maryland and the Annapolis suburbs, and it's a really hilly route. And I was doing that as an easy run, and I think what happened was I opened up my stride on one of the hills before I was really warm and paid for it a little bit. I think my legs weren't really loose, and I pulled my right calf. And it wasn't anything serious, but it was enough where later that afternoon, it definitely felt a little bit sore. So I spent a lot of last week, moderating, watching that very closely to make sure it wasn't getting worse, and moving some things around in my plan to make sure that I wasn't doing anything to aggravate that, that especially as, we're a month out at that point from the Richmond Marathon. Monday, I did 13, almost 14 miles in the morning. It was hill repeats. So one thing I've done adding in this build compared to kind of the first half of the build was once I made the decision to no longer run Wineglass and run Richmond, it was really a net downhill course with very little uphill in Wineglass, but Richmond has 700 feet of elevation. So I knew I wanted to start putting some more hill training in my workout. So on Mondays, I'm doing some type of hill workout, and I'm going up the hills in a moderate effort. So I'm not sprinting up them. I won't be sprinting up them in the marathon, but I want to get my legs used to the additional challenge of just running up a hill at slightly more than an easy pace. So I am pushing it a little bit here, but keeping the heart rate really still kind of within zone 3, maybe zone 4. So it's controlled. It's a controlled effort here. But anyway, that was 13, 14 miles. Let's just round up and say 14 in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I did a short workout. I did a 6 by 1,000 meter repeats with 30-second standing rest. The repeats were right around 5:15, so I didn't go too hard. But I remember that day actually it was like a cinder track, which is like finely crushed gravel, and there were pretty strong headwinds. So that actually was, even though the pace wasn't terribly fast, it was harder than I was expecting. Anyway, so that was 6 more miles. So finished with about just under 20 miles on the day on Monday. Tuesday, went out to the trails, one of my favorite running days, and I did, 12.7 miles in the morning, just nice and relaxed, very easy pace. In the afternoon, did 4 miles. So that is a total of about 17 miles on the day on Tuesday. Again, easy miles. Wednesday's normally my workout, but still was a little questionable with the right quad. So I went out on Wednesday, ended up doing a little bit longer run, did 14 and a half miles but at a relatively easy pace. I threw in a couple strides to see how to test out the right leg, but I decided to push the workout from Wednesday to Thursday just to give myself that additional 24 hours to let that right quad heal in case there was anything that was still there. I was feeling a little better each day, but again, wanted to err on the side of caution. So that brings me to Thursday, and Thursday, you'll see this, but this was the hardest workout of the build so far, and maybe looking at the data, it doesn't show that. You know, it was 8 by 1 mile repeats with 90-second rest, and then 8 time strides. So it was 30 seconds at about a 4:45 pace with 30-second really easy jog in between. It was a total of 17.8 miles, so just under 18 miles. So one, it was a big workout between adding in the cool down and the warm up. But the challenging part were on those repeats. I did this if you're in Richmond, you'll know Rockets Landing, and there's a slight increase going east in elevation, and we're not talking very much. I think probably 20 feet over, maybe 30 feet over that mile, and maybe even that may even be a little bit much. So it's a slight increase, and I felt pretty good actually going out, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great day. On the way back, what I didn't realize is that I was benefiting from a tailwind. So, you know, I was running uphill, but it felt a lot easier. Well, going back, I had that slight downhill, but it was some tough wind. And again, I apologize because you're probably going to hear this again. I talked about this after that race, or after that workout recap. So I'll stop there and let it, because I do think I had some good things to say there. But was happy to get through that one big workout, and then that was it for the rest of the day. And overall, my quad felt pretty good. Towards the end, it was definitely started tightening up during the cool down. During the workout, it felt okay. Otherwise, I would have cut it short. And then on Friday, I did 9 miles in the morning, nice and easy. Saturday, still a little stiffness in that right quad, so I backed off, moved my long run to Sunday. I did 11 miles in the morning, and then I did 3.5 miles in the afternoon. So putting me at, 14.5 miles on Saturday. Again, just easy stuff there. And then on Sunday, I did my long run, and I woke up and my right leg felt good, so that was encouraging. I made the difficult decision to not go to Williamsburg on a flat course and do this on the Capitol Trail, where I knew I was going to be getting some elevation. So I ended up doing the whole workout was 24 miles total. So one of the bigger workouts of the build, where you do 2-mile warm up, 10 miles at steady pace. And steady pace here means 50 seconds slower than your target marathon effort. And then you go into 10 miles immediately, 10 miles at marathon effort, and then a 2-mile cool down. And I stayed exactly on that. So I did 6:15s for the first steady miles. My heart rate was mid 130s, so it was really comfortable. And then I went into marathon effort, which was right around 5:30 for the last 10. The last 2 miles, the second to last mile, there's some elevation, and really that was quite challenging. And then cooled down the last 2 miles. Actually felt good in doing those around 6 minutes a mile. So overall, that was good. It was almost 2.5 hours on feet, just under 6 minutes a per mile average, but strong effort there. And again, right quad felt good. So it was the right decision, I think, moving that back, giving myself a little extra time to be able to rest and not push anything there. So that brought me up to 117 miles on the week. So it was a big week, and it was a big week combining pace and volume. Overall, so just very happy with the way that week went. That was week 10, and now we are at the start. It's Monday morning, start of week 11, and just 3 weeks out from the Richmond Marathon. This morning, I went out and did my normal kind of Monday hill workout. I added a little bit more extra to the workout, actually. I started running and felt much better than I thought. No pain or really anything in that right quad. And I didn't want to push too hard, but it did feel like this was an opportunity to add in a little bit more than the typical workout. So I did a warm-up of about 4 miles. Then I did 3 tempo miles around 5:50. So enough to get the heart rate up, but not working necessarily too difficult. Then I did 8 times hill repeats. So the same hill repeat, that's about 600 meters and and about 100 feet, so it's pretty steep grade. Did that 8 times, and then added some strides on towards the end, finished up with 17 miles. So it was a good workout this morning. I felt very controlled in that one. Later today, I'll do another 4 miles, and that'll bring me to 21 on the day. This week, we're looking at probably 110 miles, but I have a speed workout on Wednesday where I think I'm doing 200, so really getting the legs turning over, working at, you know, sub 5K pace, I think there. And then that will bring me to this weekend. So Friday, I'm driving down to Emerald Isle, North Carolina for the Emerald Isle Marathon on Saturday. I'm treating that as my last big long run, and that will be 18 miles at just kind of a steady pace. So I'm not quite sure what that will be, but probably somewhere between 6 and 6:30. Then I'll do 6 miles at marathon effort, so dropping that down to around 5:30. And then the last 2 miles likely would be a cool down. So we're looking at, you know, again, just full marathon, 26-mile long run with some later miles at marathon effort. Again, just testing my body, you know, working on some fatigue legs, where I'm not jogging in the beginning, but nothing too hard either. So it'll be a good training stimulus, but one I can bounce back pretty quickly. And going to the last, at that point, there'll be 2 weeks left of before the Richmond Marathon. And I'll start the taper where the volume will start to go down, but I will actually probably increase the intensity. I'm not going to do also a huge taper. So, you know, the second week out from the marathon, I'll probably drop volume by about 10%. And then, so really just a little bit shorter, maybe a mile or 2 less on each one of the runs, and that should get me right where I need to be. I might add in a workout, or additionally, or at least at the very least, making sure I'm doing more strides. That's something that anyone can add in, even if you're a week or 2 or 3 weeks out from your race date. Just adding in strides or even hills, or even on your normal run, if there is a increase in elevation, maybe just run up that a little bit harder. It doesn't need to be an all-out effort, but if it's an easy day, just add 10% extra effort, maybe 20% effort. Just give yourself that, get your heart rate up just a little bit more, become a little more efficient on some of those uphills. And over the time, especially if you have 2 or 3 weeks, that accumulates quite a bit. You end up racking up a few miles where you're actually pushing uphill, or you end up adding in, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 strides at the end of every easy run. You do that, let's say 3 or 4 times a week. Over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, you have a few miles at probably 5K-ish pace, and that makes a difference. It's something I wasn't doing so much on the first half of the build, but I've been doing more recently, and I'm definitely noticing the difference of being able to of feeling more comfortable and more efficient. And when I'm starting to run those paces, or even somewhere in between what I would do for a stride and, let's say, marathon effort or up to marathon effort, it all just feels a little more fluid. So, you know, when you already have a plan built out and, you know, you're probably hesitant to make any big changes, you know, especially if you're listening to some of these workouts, you might like them, but it might interfere with what you're already doing. So one thing you can do and add in is just add in strides, add in you know, some hill work, or like I said, just working a little harder on the terrain that you're already running. So those are some easy things that you can do. We're in the last little bit probably here of marathon training, whether you're running New York in, I guess, 2 weeks time. Let's see, Indy's another big one, Richmond, and there are a few others, and there's CIM at the end of the year. So, you know, good luck with the training. Stay focused. You're almost there. You've done probably majority, if not most of the work at this point. So just keep going, working hard until the end, and you'll be thankful that you did. The work that you're doing now, 2 or 3 weeks out, will show up on race day. So keep pushing hard, knowing that it will all come together and help you run your best on race day. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll try to put together another video maybe before Emerald Isle Marathon, but if not, I'll do a recap this weekend following that race and let you know how it goes. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Just finished up my long run. I knew it was going to be challenging. It was a little bit more difficult than I was expecting, honestly. So I did my 2-mile warm-up, nice and easy. 10 miles at, I kind of hovered between 6:10 and 6:20, right around probably close to 6:15-ish pace, which I was happy. That's where I wanted to be. It was kind of an uncomfortable pace. Not that it was difficult, but my body kept on wanting to get a little bit faster, closer to like a 6:05 or 6:10, or drop down to a 6:30. That's just kind of where my natural cadence fell. So I had to pay pretty close attention to stay on that 6:15 pace. But, you know, as far as my body, I felt fine. I felt really strong throughout, both, you know, just leg strength, cardio-wise. You know, I was breathing comfortably. So I felt good going into, you know, the second half of the workout, miles 12 through 22, where I had 10 miles at marathon effort. And I pushed pretty hard. And I stayed pretty close to 5:25 to 5:30 pace for those 10 miles, but it was definitely a struggle. The route today was challenging, and it had about, I'd say 500 to 600 feet of elevation. I'll look back at the data when I'm done here, but it was, you know, it's just kind of always rolling. There are a couple big hills, so, you know, looking back, I maintained effort. I still hit a 5:30 split. You know, in a marathon, I'd probably let that drop back 10 or 15 seconds to keep my heart rate lower and then push on the downhill. This one, I kept it pretty steady regardless of the elevation. And I think I just felt that aerobically a little bit on some of the, you know, some of the miles, especially the later ones. I think it was mile 20. I probably had 100 to 150 feet of elevation over that mile period. And I pushed pretty hard. And then, you know, the last 2 miles I struggled, really the second to last mile. The last mile was mostly downhill, so I benefited from probably a 100-foot downhill where I was able to, I think, finish with a 5:15 mile. But again, that was elevation assisted. That was not a true 5:15 flat or you know, normal conditions. So that one probably looks a little stronger than it actually is. But then at the end, you know, I took about 800 meters and jogged right around a 7-minute flat pace. And then I felt pretty good. So I didn't go much faster, but I did drop it down to about, you know, to a steady pace, closer to a 6-minute pace, the last mile and a half to finish it out. And that was, so 24 miles total, just under 6-minute pace. So I think overall it was good. I'm happy I did this. I'm happy I did this run, and I did it in Richmond. I probably need to do a little bit more work at pace between now and the marathon. It doesn't necessarily be difficult, but I need to get comfortable running at marathon effort up hills, so, or even just like slight hills. So do a little bit more on some undulating roads, and I'll work on adding that in over the next few weeks. This is so good. I'm telling you, try it. It's definitely worth it.